human spirit fly. Where AI and quantum minds converge, medicine transcends and possibilities surge. A dreamland opens where healing flows free. Every human touched, pain vanished, hell for all to see. So hear the stories, let your curiosity rise.
Madbricks webcast,
Where the human spirit flies. Madbricks webcast, where the human spirit flies.
Hey, welcome to the Medbix webcast. This is Raman Annamaraju. I'm the host. Let me, we have a very interesting program. We do once in a while, Thursdays, we do live podcast. Global health is such an important topic, and I want to talk with, one of the leading figures in this area, global health, Walter Ulrich, joining from Houston, Texas. But before that, let me introduce my co-host, big part of Medbix webcast, Dr. Susan Davis. Welcome.
Hi,
Welcome,
Ramana.
Susan. Yeah.
I love 6 p.m. on Thursday.
Yeah, you love this kind of time. It's a midnight. Otherwise, it's a midnight for you in the regular time.
Yes.
Yeah, global health is obviously my father is a doctor and a teacher in a small town. So I understand global health. We exported equipment to the Africa a little bit, and I did equipment to India. I connected radiologists from Afghanistan to Pakistan. I did quite a bit of international connections I had, but I'm not this upcoming gentleman. He did a lot of work. But before that, I want to ask you what's going on with you. Is there anything special going on right now?
The most special thing is today is the last day of my Woman of Impact campaign. So it has been quite the 8-week journey. I appreciate and thank everybody in our audience that has supported the campaign, who has stuck it out and listened and watched all of my just everything. We talked about stroke. We talked about heart health. We talked about women's health. We raised money. We had great conversations. So the best news is that the campaign is finally over. So I'm going to be able to give everybody a small break. But just because the conversation and the campaign's over doesn't mean that my advocacy will stop, not by a long shot, as far as bringing awareness to women's health, especially cardiovascular health.
Excellent.
So thank you for asking.
You're doing a great work, and you should be the winner. The amount of work you're doing. Let us introduce our good friend Walter Ulrich, new friend now. He's joining from Houston, Texas. He is a MedBridge's CEO, president and CEO. He had different hats, all his different careers he was in before this. We will ask him his background a little bit, and then we'll go from there. Welcome, Walter.
Ramana.
Welcome to the Medbix.
It's such a joy to be with you. I love your opening. I love the music. I love particularly the Martin Luther King quote about the power and the need and how inequality in healthcare is so bad and so evil. Frankly, it's just plain evil. Raman, I also greatly respect the work you're doing with inner city American kids. And this chance to have an honest, candid conversation with you is terrific. Susan, thank you for your impact work. That really matters. 8 weeks, that's amazing. Also, my wife is a nurse, and my mother was a nurse in combat in World War II.
Oh my God.
So I have a special place in my heart for nurses, and it's one of the joys that I get to finally, at this stage in my life, to be part of Medical Bridges and try to do something meaningful for people who don't have the resources to get adequate health care.
Well, you're speaking our language. You're speaking our language.
Yeah, give me your background a little bit, Walter. Where are you and what do you do? And a little bit about your company. just to give
Sure,
a
sure.
personal background.
As a
You gave
small
a personal
child,
background.
sure. As a small child, I started to read and write in front of the fireplace on papyrus paper. No, my parents were both World War II vets. Great growing up. I wanted to be a technologist. I went to school to be a technology master. I actually was responsible for commercializing the first electronic mail system that is a business. But that wasn't very fulfilling for me. So I moved into management consulting and I helped many, many businesses to do better. And then I became a turnaround CEO. You see it on TV where somebody goes into a restaurant for 7 days and they fix it. It ain't like that in the real world. I turned around small, meaningful businesses, 6 of them as CEO, and every one of them emerged from their poor financial performance into being successful and often thriving companies, protecting jobs and moving forward. And I was a volunteer at another nonprofit in Houston, really a pioneering nonprofit relating to entrepreneurship in Houston. And when the founder, a great human being, retired, they seduced me to do that. And Raman, I can tell you, if I knew how hard it was to make the transition from for-profit to nonprofit, I would have said no. And I'm so grateful I didn't know because I had to learn through experience. Had a great time there. Semi-retired, failed retirement, and joined Medical Bridges 7 years ago.
Beautiful. Let me, after my question, I'll let you talk with Susan. And I did what is MedBridges mission is. Explain to me a little bit of MedBridges mission, and
Sure.
and
Absolutely. Medical Bridges' mission is to bridge the healthcare gap worldwide. If you walked into our building, and any of you who come to Houston are invited for a tour, in the lobby of our building, you'd see a picture of a hospital in Haiti. Every piece of medical equipment and supplies, dialysis machines, incubators, ultrasound machines, needles and syringes, gloves and masks, gurneys and beds, and a birthing bed all came thanks to the generosity of Americans from Medical Bridges.
Ah,
This
awesome.
was this was a place where babies were born on a mat on the floor, and we sent them a real birthing bed. And they were so delighted, they sent us photos of the first 100 babies that were born in that bed. I mean, it's adorable. So, we go where it's hard. We serve 107 countries in the world that don't have, gloves are a luxury. If they have gloves, they use them. And Susan, you can appreciate this as a nurse for an operation, diagnosis, or procedure. Then they wash the gloves and use them again and again till it wears out. You
Wow.
understand the implications for the patients in that
Oh my
case.
gosh. So,
We
I
do-
mean, where do you even begin with that? I don't want to interrupt you because that's one space. You're saying 107 countries, and you've been doing
yeah,
this for 7 years. Was that the time frame?
I've been doing it for 7 years. I'm a steward. There were those that preceded me. Medical Bridges has got 28 years of expertise.
Wow.
When I joined Medical Bridges, they needed a little more business savvy because they'd grown and were struggling with growth. And I turned around corporations. So when I was seduced to come out of retirement and do this, it was what a waste of my 50-year business career would have been to sit on the deck of the beach house in Galveston and not come in here and really look at the business side. And I told them 3 to 5 years, we have no debt. Don't get me wrong, all nonprofits need money. We doubled the amount of people we serve around the world. And I said 3, 5 years at the most. And you heard me mention, I've already been here 7 years and they can't get rid of me, Susan.
Well, they're very fortunate and lucky, and so are we. So I can't wait to hear a bit more about how that works, Walter. I mean, thank goodness for your your scrappy startup, and coming in as a CEO. I know it took more than 7 days, like we're doing in the restaurants that you gave as an example. It's probably what, 6 months, 18 months when you do like a fractional CEO type situation.
Well, I would never do it as a fractional CEO. They would either bring me in as the guy, because a turnaround can't be done 2 days a week. It's a
Right.
turnaround. Yeah, so in my business career, those 6 or so companies I turned around, I would go in there in the first 6 months, it was 6 days a week. And the shortest one was 6 months and the longest one was 3 years. You have to care for the people in the company. That's what makes it worthwhile. Is you're saving, is you can't save all the jobs. You're saving as many jobs as you can, and you're doing everything you can so the vendors, the people you owe money to, get as much of the money you owe them as possible. And in every case, I love people. In every case, when we got done, most of the vendors got 100% of their money, and 90% of the jobs were saved. And when I left, that's, when it gets boring, that job is done. The business was thriving, and some of them went on to be acquired and grew. And what a joy to see. It's a little bit, either as a doctor or as a nurse, when you have an ill patient and you cure the patient, and then you watch the patient leave the hospital and grow. Turning around the business is the same way.
That's
Well,
magnificent.
Walter, I was born in India in a small village, and they had house and they had home. We don't have a, I have a frontline window for the delivery of the babies and all my father, and I used to watch them. So tell me a little bit about, you have much more exposure to the around the world about the maternal mortality, maternal birth, the infant births, infant mortality. Can you give us some rundown on all these
Yeah,
things, that what are the things going on in that area?
absolutely. And it both moves us and inspires us. Uh, if you would have asked me, Ramana, 2 years ago, what was the state of global health, I would have told you that 4.5 billion people on this planet do not have adequate health care. If you were to ask me today, I would tell you that there are 4.5 billion people on this planet who don't have adequate health care, and 4 million more of them are going to die. In countries like Sudan and Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, Republic of Guinea, out of every 100, not 1,000 or 10,000, out of every 100 live births, 6 babies and 1 or 2 mommies will die. In the Republic of Guinea, women that are pregnant lie about being pregnant because they don't want people to be concerned. They won't admit they were pregnant until their baby was born and has survived. In Ukraine, over 3,000 healthcare facilities and capabilities have been attacked, including 3 maternity hospitals and 2 children's hospitals. Here in Houston, we have Texas Children's Hospital, the largest children's hospital in the country, and their equivalent of Texas Children's was bombed, and only 60% of it today is operating. If you go to Gaza, roughly 3% of the hospitals in Gaza are functioning at 100%. There's a few more that are functioning on a partial basis. Fortunately, International Medical Corps has set up some hospitals. So the picture around the world is stunning. 2 years ago, I would have described it as desperate. Today, it's dire.
Walter, does your company work with the World Health Organization on this type of aid? I know that they've recently created a basic emergency care program specifically to help the maternal deaths and the infant mortality in low and middle income countries. Is there a crossover to your work?
We do that work in Angola, which is another place that has very high infant mortality. A few years ago, we sent 5 40-foot containers, $1 million worth of medical supplies to Cabinda province to keep mommies and babies alive for 4 weeks when their survival went up. But when you look at a really large organization like WHO, or when there used to be a USAID, they can't work with small organizations. The bureaucracy, and believe me, that bureaucracy is stewardship. It's required to prevent corruption and all kinds of things that you don't want to happen occur. But they can't afford to work with 30 medical bridges. They need to pick large organizations. We work, and because we're small, our efficiency is much greater, but it's not as big, as broad an impact. 95% of what medical bridges goes to the mission, and we run the business and do fundraising with 5%. Thanks to the American people who support us, thanks to global partners around the world, we're able in the last 3 years to ship 700 tons of life-saving medical equipment and supplies worth $34 million to countries around the world.
Bravo, bravo. And I guess I say that because on this show, Ramon and I have bringing in an increasingly large amount of smaller businesses from various areas and aspects of healthcare, small research labs, Ramona, like Nishant Mittal, who was here recently, small research labs doing incredible research and having, but not necessarily the voice to reach the larger populace and really make that change. And so that's what we're really happy to be doing here on this show, is businesses like yours with such amazing impact. Getting the supplies is one thing, and then training those people who get those supplies, that's kind of where I come in. And I'm certain your wife, she works in education as well. So I'd love to speak more about the partnership between getting the supplies and then what do we do with them when we get there to teach them how to use them.
This is the one place I want to add a little bit to that. Me and Susan are thinking about putting like defibrillators, in the small village. We want to show them. India can afford now. They're kind of getting a slowly middle level income place. So we want to show them each village has a one defibrillator, close to the library or someplace, that small library in that village, or president, the village chief of the village. You put something there. I think that is and then provide training. Some of the things you can save lives without even equipment. For example, CPR is what Susan provides. These kind of things are big help. There's overall not only the equipment is a training is a critical part of that whole process. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, you said it perfectly. Interestingly enough, we're in really difficult countries. Obviously, we're very heavily in Ukraine. We've been heavily in Pakistan for many years. We're getting ready to be the first organization of our kind in the United States to ship 4 containers to Gaza. And awesome. Extremely complicated rules to prepare the stuff for shipment to Gaza, right? Now, the one thing I would say, and this breaks my heart, is the 2 countries we have the hardest time getting into are Mexico, which we could go to Laredo and drive across the border because of the bureaucracy, and the other one is India. We've got friends in India that are very significant in-country NGOs and nonprofits, but the bureaucracy in India makes it impossible for us to ship quantity to India.
Wow.
Still, that's a big challenge still, the bureaucracy in India.
We respect that every country has the right to manage their customs, and they have rules. And I believe in 99% of the countries, and especially India, the rules are set up with the right intention. They're trying to protect things that shouldn't get in. They're trying to protect things, industries in India can't compete with free. They're trying to prevent free things from coming in. So every country has to figure out the formula. And again, I can't speak to anything but medical material. But when India was the country that had the worst COVID outbreak, they relaxed the rules. We put together everything for 2 shipments to India. And while it was at sea, they put the rules back in, and we actually resent that to Ukraine.
Oh, I'm
Wow.
glad you told me something about India. I didn't know. I sent equipment, they disappeared in the customs. They never reached the customer. Is a very common is a corruption problem in the customs area, big time. I agree with you.
Walter, what is the definition of medical surplus? What is the extent? I mean, you said needles, syringes, gloves. Does it go up to medical devices? I mean, what is the range of stuff that you gather and send?
Yeah, we have C-arm X-ray machines. So the only thing you don't have, we actually did it once in 28 years, was an MRI machine.
Huh.
MRI machines are really expensive. They're really heavy. They're really hard to ship. You can't really put them in a single container, but we deal with everything, include, gurneys and lifts and orthopedic material. TIR is the number one rehab hospital for physical injuries. That's where Gabby Gifford went for rehab. TIR is one of our partners. So you name it, we send it. Operating room lights. There's a big demand because of warfare for things that have to do with trauma.
Interesting. Walter, do they have to have certain life on them? Will they only accept a certain year and above, and then, because I'm wondering, how do they fix and repair if it's older? Is there an age range on some of the equipment?
On the equipment, we have, we're one of only a very small number of organizations in the U.S. that are accredited for international shipment. Others are well-intentioned and don't do what we do, but they're well-intended and they do the best they can. But we have a full-time super biomedical technician. So
Wow.
even if we get something from MD Anderson Hospital, the number one cancer hospital in the country, and they say it's in perfect order, we will not send it until Brian works all the diagnostics, makes sure all the documentation is there, that it's clean and fit for use. So on equipment, it's a matter of, is it fit for use? Does it have a reasonable life ahead of us? For supplies and things like that, we will not put into international inventory anything that has less than 14 months of life left. It's just wrong to send something somewhere that someone will ultimately use it expired. That is morally wrong.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking people think like, oh, we'll just clean out all of our expired stuff, but so no. So that's a wonderful standard to have, Walter, because when it comes to medical standards, if we don't keep them high, then what are we doing? Are we perpetuating the problem?
That is that used to be, and it still is in some places, the arrogant American view. Oh, something is better than nothing. Our view is, if I'm sending something overseas, is it something that I would want my daughter to be treated with, or my grandson to be treated with? If it doesn't meet that standard, we're not sending it.
Beautiful. So Walter, I don't, without getting into moral side of it, or politics side of it, at least moral side of it is okay. So USAID was disbanded, and then we are pulled out from the World Health Organization. So do you think there is an impact? Because I know Michelle Nunn from a care network, Michelle Nunn, and I used to live in Atlanta, that's why. Do you think that impact is really critical in that? Is there any problem with that situation?
Well, I'm going to answer that question two ways. First of all, that's way above
Be
my
careful. I don't
capability.
want to be politically one side or other side,
That's right. I mean, we serve. There's only 3 countries in the world we can't serve, and we'll serve countries that are adversaries to the U.S. if we can help the people in those countries. We're not for or against any government. I have very strong feelings about helping the people of Ukraine, but I will make no comment about another country in that same area. But I will say that we see the results of policy decisions. I'm not saying policy is good or bad, but we see the changes of USAID that also affected the reduction of foreign aid from some other European countries, having a dramatic impact on increasing death and and helping people that were recovering or being treated, not getting treatment. We also see that China is very, very active throughout Africa. So one of the risks we take, and it may be a risk we're willing to take, that's a positive, that's not my decision, is that China's influence is increasing. And if we look unreliable, then the US influence is decreasing. So those are the effects, but somebody else decides the right thing to do. It's not my job.
Yeah.
So Walter, can you tell us how it works? How can people donate their, is it a donation? Is it, you're donating supplies, then you guys are the hub and then you pack and ship? How do we do it?
Yeah, let me tell that story really quickly. The Texas Medical Center in Houston is the largest medical center in the world with 54 institutions. And you all know from some of your other things and some of the things you're involved with how rapidly technology is changing. So the hospitals give us equipment. Sometimes people who no longer need equipment will drop it off. They don't want to see it go to waste. So we have many sources of equipment. We could use more, don't get me wrong. We have partners around the world that are major NGOs, and they do provide some financial support. But we need philanthropy to keep the operation going and to grow the operation. The year before I got here, we shipped 33 containers. Last year, we shipped 58. With the situation in the world, we want to ship 65 to 70 this year, but we can't do that unless we find some incremental funding to help us do that additional difference. Houston, the Port of Houston is one of the largest, is the largest international port right now in the United States, and doesn't have the labor problems you have in California. So we're an ideal place to do this. A little bit of funding, $1 of funding is enough for us to send $8 worth of medical materials, enough that at least 2 people will be treated that wouldn't be treated. That's $1. 11 cents matters. A pair of gloves matters.
Oh, if you could, I'm sure that when you fill one of those containers, the list is long of what's in there. What are the top handful of items that are in the greatest need?
Diagnostic equipment, very, very important. Trauma-related equipment is very important. We don't get enough operating room stuff. That has a longer life in hospitals. But, we sometimes get 60 beds, and places we go would take a container with just beds. They don't have beds. And almost every container we ship, between the 2 rows of 10 pallets on each side, we put IV poles, because so many hospitals, the IV pole is a nail in the wall.
Yeah, wow. I mean, you think about that. A hospital replaces, okay, so they're going to replace all their beds. This is the year. They're going to go unit to unit to unit, take all these old beds out. What do they do with them? Do they donate them? Do they vendor take them back and recycle them? I mean, so do you need help with that kind of thing? Getting the word out, going to send them to your website. I'm excited about this project.
Yeah, we need all that. And we do have a lot of volunteers. Our local baseball team, the Houston Astros, they have a foundation and they send volunteers 3 times a week to us. So we need everything you've talked about. And the more that we have, the more we can deliver. I mean, think about it. Our volunteers that sort like people do at a food bank are literally reaching across the ocean. Imagine yourself, Susan, being a nurse in Ghana, right? We delivered a couple of boxes of Figs gowns. Figs is a donor to us. And you should see the videos of the nurses in whatever junk they have, putting on the Figs gown, literally singing and dancing.
I can imagine. I love my Figs. That's a really cool story. I'm certainly, they were just thrilled. A little bit goes a long way.
Well, Ecuador is not the poorest country in the world. Not as bad as Sudan or Angola. But we sent one 40-foot container of good quality medical surplus to Ecuador. And when we opened the container, when they opened the container, we don't have to be there. They opened the container. The mayor, in her beautiful best dress, was in front of a microphone with the community organizer and the dignitaries. And across the street, there were 3 or 4 rows of chairs as far as you could see, and they were giving speeches. This is our surplus, things that would have ended up in landfills. And speaking of dancing, when she was done, 5 women in native, legacy Ecuadorian dress were dancing the national dance on the street. Our surplus, when handled respectfully and properly and delivered for our joy, we are thankful for that opportunity as people dancing in the street.
Brilliant.
Yeah, Walter, one of the things that let us talk about logistics and shipping. I used to ship medical equipment to other countries a couple of times. I did, not too often, but it is a big problem. Even if they want to donate for that, shipping costs are more than the equipment cost itself. So in certain cases, so how do you deal with that situation?
Yeah. Before COVID, we could ship to a lot of countries for a whole 40-foot container for as little as $4,000.
Really?
During COVID, it peaked to $10,000 to $12,000.
Gosh.
Now it's back down to about $7,500. So our typical container has between $175,000 and $200,000 worth of material, sometimes as much as $300,000. So the actual shipping cost, whether it's Maersk or Special Logistics or somebody else, is a relatively modest portion. But every dollar it costs to ship means there's something else not being shipped somewhere else. And with the current situation in the world, the cost of shipping is going to go up because the cost of bunker fuel is going to go up. And there may even be some shortages of ships that get stuck somewhere and can't get out and ship stuff around. So that is going to be a problem, and it may get worse. But that's manageable when you're shipping that much stuff. And it's not only the value of what we ship. Sometimes what we ship isn't available in the country at any cost. It's just not available.
Those containers, I would imagine they would be dancing in the streets. I'm just imagining going from having next to just nothing to getting an entire container, a couple $100,000 worth of equipment is a lot of reasons to dance in the streets, Walter. It's an amazing program you guys are working on.
Yeah.
You recently, I think it was just yesterday, you hosted a global health forum. And
Yes.
you had people from all over the world represented at this forum. And was this the topic? Was it a global topic? And can we get a copy of it? By the way, was it recorded?
It was recorded, and I will send you for sure a copy. You can see the whole thing. We had a Major General Dusty Schultz, who for a while ran Southern Command, which does a lot of their humanitarian work, an amazing recently retired general who kicked it off and talked about the greater world situation. That was followed by 3, I would say, at least nationally, probably internationally recognized experts. Andrew Natsios was the head of USAID under President Bush. Peter Hotez, the world-renowned tropical medicine specialist, who wrote the book about science under attack. He wrote the book, My Daughter Rachel Didn't Become Autistic Because of Vaccines. He's on CNN just about every week. He's a personal friend. And then Dr. John, who runs International Medical Corps, a $100 million organization that within 25 hours of a disaster somewhere sends entire teams in. And each of them talked about how desperate medical care has become as a need around the world. We followed them up by a medical missionary couple that went to Guatemala. Dr. Tadia Diallo, who did her clinical work in the Republic of Guinea and deals with in-kind things, and then followed it up with 3 case studies. A case study on Guatemala, where 3 organizations are partnering to basically put up a new one. An issue always is what happens with the technology when it arrives. Their biomed tech is usually the one who sweeps the floor and cleans out the gutters. So how do you keep it running its full life? So that included Engineers Without Borders and Faith and Practice on Guatemala. Then we moved to an amazing woman, a perfect bookend to General Schultz was Ambassador Erin McKee. Long career, USAID, ambassadorship to the Solomon Islands, and now she runs Nova Ukraine, giving a heart-rending story about the situation in Ukraine. And then,
Talk about an all-star cast. Wow.
And then I was followed up by Ki Lu, who's developed the field hospital in Gaza, where we're partnering, and we're going to be the first organization of our kind in the U.S. to be able to get medical equipment into Gaza.
Walter, let me ask you, I wanted to have a quick question for you. What about army surplus? Have you dealt with the army surplus? Because I used to buy some equipment from them before. Tell me about that, a little bit about your interaction with them.
Yeah. Retired Colonel Whalen is actually on our advisory council. She was a colonel in the Air Force in San Antonio, where they have a huge warehouse. And we've been working 5 years for when they can't figure out what to do with some of that stuff to get it ourselves. And you'd be happy in one respect. When a military hospital doesn't need stuff anymore, they send it to this warehouse, and they look around other military installations, VA and places like that, to send it. And so we've been at the end of the list, but I'm glad it's being reused somewhere in the world. They don't throw much away. They're pretty efficient. So that's good. The good news, but we could use that, Good question.
What about army? How many army surplus, the warehouses in the country in general? One I remember in Nashville, and there are quite a bit of places, right?
That's a question we always get. We always get questions like that. And, if I was the Red Cross, I'd send someone to Nashville. I'd send somebody else out to El Segundo, California, right? But you heard what we do. We do all of that with 19 and a half people. So we don't have the bandwidth to explore great ideas like that. We just, we got a business we got to run. We need to go to places where we have warm introductions and we have a reasonable chance. Don't get me wrong, we're reaching out all the time. But, if you know somebody in Nashville and you think they have surplus, talk to them. If they feel they can help us, make the connection. We do have enough effort to do that, but we don't have the bandwidth to kind of try things out where we don't have a really warm introduction.
I know one brigadier general. I'm going to introduce you. He's retired. I'd love to introduce you to you. He is very much into global philanthropy and all these things. I definitely like to introduce you.
Please, thank you.
I was just thinking I'm simmering on a team of 19 serving 107 countries that shipped, I forget what you said last year, but you're 40, how many crates? And looking for 67?
58 containers, which is, let's see, 120 pallets. No, it's more than that. It's 1,000 pallets of medical supplies and equipment.
With a goal of 60 something by the end of this year. So I think the 19 of you are a heck of a crowd doing an amazing, amazing global work.
I'm inspired, especially during the summer in Houston, because we do have 30,000 square feet, 22,000 square feet under roof, but our warehouse is neither heated or air conditioned. and Jorge and Danny are out there every day getting things organizing, moving things around. If we have an IV pole where the base is rusted, Jorge will take it out back and paint the bottom of it so that it looks like it's brand new. They inspire me. That I don't have a hard job. They have the hard job.
Your leadership, Walter, through your history and your career, has what's inspiring those 19 people. You said yourself at the beginning of this conversation how the people in the corporations and the businesses that you work with were the reason you stayed and the reason that they were successful. And I have no doubt that that's what's happening with the 19 that you're describing now that are all going above and beyond. They believe in the mission, and you have put together quite a team.
Well said, Susan. Let me, if you don't mind, I hope you are patient. We will come back and talk with you. I want to present a topic on a little bit different in technology side. That's a format of MedBricks is a little bit of different than regular talk shows. What I do is
Sure.
that we talk and then we present a topic related to healthcare. So I present a topic, you're going to see for 10 minutes, 15, not more than 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to present. Navia, can you upload that the presentation? Yeah, I was. This is a. I'm presenting a 4-part series of the AI healthcare. Where is the limits of AI? Where the AI has a problem in the real problem with this one. One is second part. I'm going to talk about part two. I did the black boxes. I have done already that you can go back and look at it. But the second part I'm doing to is the irreversibility of the responsibility. Irreversibility. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So, what is irreversibility in healthcare? Why AI has the limitations for that? I'm going to talk about that a little bit very quick. See, loss of life is the biggest limitation to AI, because no undo. You cannot do undo. Death is final. No replay, no second chance. So this is the irreversible process. I'm talking about the physics point of view, system engineering, and technology point of view. So no reset in misdiagnosis. You cannot reset and go back and change the diagnosis. Already things are in motion. Software you can update. You can change the software. Patients don't. So that is the limitations of technology in that sense. So the clinical window, loss of time. Loss of time is um, you know, it is a particularly in the case of stroke or sepsis, cardiac arrest. All of them are minutes matter. The Susan always talks about the cardiac arrest. That is 3 minutes, 10 minutes maximum. Once the window closes, function cannot be restored. That is a so you cannot rerun the program like AI. You cannot rerun and settle it. So loss of time in a clinical window is extremely critical. That's a irreversible process. Third one is irreversible process is tissue damage, tissue and organ damage. So that is a big problem, right? Once it is in the motion, you cannot undamage the tissue. Neurons don't regenerate. Very clinic. They say that regenerate in the some extent, but it's not a clinically significant way. It won't generate enough. Muscle lost, is a permanent reduction in the functionality wise, it's going to reduce, and fibrosis, like some of them are liver fibrosis and pulmonary fibrosis. That's all the problems. Necrosis is the death of a tissue you cannot restore. So these are all tissue damage done. That's a reversible process. So I'm talking about irreversibility is very important I'm bringing system side of a thought process to healthcare. So the fourth one is, can you read that one? I can't read that the top one. I don't know what they said that.
Surgical actions. Surgical actions.
What is that?
Surgical actions. Incisions,
Surgical
removals,
actions. Okay. Because
amputations.
it's blocking me that thing. Okay. Surgical actions is, once you remove the organ or amputation, you cannot go back and do it. So that is a lot of them are can do it, can restore, can retry. These are all done. So is a surgical amputations, all those things are is irreversible. Surgery is a irreversible process. That is a The fifth one, I'm going to talk about medication side effects, right? Treatment, wrong treatment. So gastrointestinal damage, for example, if you take a statins for a long time, there is a big problem there. Is thinning stomach and all those things, organ tax toxicity, and chemotherapy. The side effects are really bad sometimes, and is permanently damaged. Severe allergies. These are all you can't recall. Can't erase these kind of things. So some drugs toxicities cause permanent damage, right? As you know, Susan knows a lot more. So radiation exposure is one of the permanent damage it can do. The radiation therapy, radiation oncology therapy. Adverse reactions can cascade beyond control. That is a fifth one, and you know, genetics. So genetics is that the mutation once it starts, you cannot go back and change it unless you use CRISPR. It's a very expensive process to change it back. You can repair it, but there is no way you can change the mutation. It is always there. So cell damage is done already. The cancer cells are that is a undo things. Hereditary diseases. These are all irreversible processes. Mutations once established propagate. Cancer evolution is not easily reversed. You can treat, but not erase the history. That's always there, irreversible process. The seven is, I don't know what. Can you read that again, Susan?
Loss of trust. Loss of
Loss of
trust.
yeah.
See, I'm
So
paying attention, Susan.
We're a good team, Walter.
Yeah.
You got this.
Lots of trust is that there is something blocks in this technology platform that bothers me a little bit. But what can I do? So the system the trust is not only the trust of delayed care is a lack of trust. That's it. That's it. Delayed care is you cannot go back and do it because already it's a patient's life is involved. And, cost issues. Once you charge them, you cannot refund it. I don't think hospitals refund it very well. Staff disillusionment, like what do you call burnout, is one of the problems. A lot of people leave. During the COVID, we saw that the frontline workers like Susan and the doctors and physicians, clinical staff burnout is a maximum. Patient distrust, that is a bigger one. The moment you have lost the patient trust, system collapses. There is no way healthcare system will survive a long time. That is the loss. Cognitive decline. Some of them more I can recognize. Cognitive decline is that is a very very tough. Confusion, dementia, and all these things, memory loss. They all cannot be restored easily. So these are irreversible process. Rehab improves but does not restore baseline. That's important. Loss of independence is often permanent. That's what they say. That's the statistics saying. So at the irreversible process, human judgment is the critical one over AI. AI helps, it assists, but without a human involvement there, it is not going to be the good one. So that's why we need doctors and nurses like Susan. We need them because they are part of, even however the technology is progressing, there are irreversible processes. There is a human judgment is involved because AI can predict risk. Only humans decide where life is on the line. Yeah, Susan can tell if somebody is a cardiac arrest. She can jump in and tell what is going on there. Then you're waiting for the AI to answer. AI optimizes. AI, what is the cheapest and best? So human life is not on the center stage there. AI can suggest treatment, so only human can see the context. Yesterday I was talking to Susan about the number of drugs they give. Sometimes it may not be, elder parents you have is not. You have to judge where they fit in or not. So these are all important factors that where the reversibility process is a very powerful thing in healthcare. You cannot replace from from the AI. With the AI, we need that clinical staff to make a final judgment. Thank you for watching. We'll talk later on about all those other things. Thank you. Let me bring my guest back. Okay, that's what I want to present. How do you like it, bro, Walter?
You know, it really has an analogy to our business. Now, some of those pictures may mean I'll skip dinner tonight.
What is that?
I said some of those pictures were such that made me think twice about having dinner tonight. But no, a lot of that is very analogous to our business because if
Yeah.
we don't have the right respect, we don't put the right things together. Once that container goes out the door, for example, in some countries, if we put something that would expire in 6 months, out of all those pallets, we have one item, that container will never get out of customs. We've
Oh,
wasted
Oh,
all of it.
really?
Right. So just like the physician or the surgeon or the doctor, you really have to be careful with what you're doing. And if you lose trust, you can't get trust back. As I as I reflect on our conversation about that and about what we do, is we help as many people as we can help. I don't know if you can see this picture. I guess you can't.
yes. Who is that
Okay.
little dolly?
This is Christina. Christina is a beautiful 4-year-old girl who was looking forward to Christmas and was killed by a bomb on December 23rd. Medical bridges can't help Christina, but whether it's Ukraine or Gaza or Sudan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, or Ethiopia, with our support we have from our community, we can help many other boys and girls and moms and dads and elderly people. You heard me talk about Haiti when we opened the conversation. And I wasn't here in 2010 when the really tragic Haiti earthquake took place. And Haiti's never really recovered from that, right? But at that time of that earthquake, coincidentally, there was a woman who was having a very difficult pregnancy, and she knew her pregnancy was going downhill. And you've heard about the statistics of what happens in some countries of the world. And she knew she needed help, so she walked a long distance in pain to a church that had been turned into a makeshift clinic. And when she got there, it was clear to the healthcare people she was going to die. Except a pallet had arrived in response to the earthquake the day before by Medical Bridges with a CPAC. And they did an emergency C-section, and they saved her and they saved her baby.
Hmm.
That baby, my grandson, Henry, turned 16 this year. He's the same age as that baby. We are one people, one world. That could have been my Henry, or any of your kids or grandkids, nieces or nephews. Thanks to the generosity of so many in the United States and trusted partnerships in 107 countries around the world.
You're not that far from Houston Johnson Space Center. Artemis crew was telling from the space that they're saying that, when they see from that space, we all won. The laws of physics runs the earth, that moves around, revolving around sun. It is look like a boy. We are fighting all these people, when from looking at those things, it's the conflicts and humans are one and only one. That's how humanity is one. That that that's that is a powerful. I want to ask you just a side question to you. Do you know Venus Giants in Houston, Texas? She did a lot of work in the Latino world. Venus Giants, her name. Yeah, she
Um,
does.
I know a lot of people in the Latina community, and we serve the Americas.
Yeah.
Um, but back to your comment about Artemis, astronaut Glover specifically said that we were one people.
Yeah.
And in my other nonprofit, I did some things on working side by side with the directors of Johnson Space Center, and actually got the silver award, silver medal from Johnson Space Center. We are very close. Uh, I've toured some of their medical facilities. I mean, Houston is an amazing place.
Walter, the story that you just told gave me hardcore goosebumps. I mean, like hardcore, with the pallet arriving and the saving of the life. And I love closing with that story. I can tell you, I do a lot of advocacy, and I go, and I train. I trained in 3 different outpatient and 2 hospitals today. And I often forget, it seems odd, about the story about, I'm training people, and they get it and they understand, they learn, and you're sending equipment and you're sending it and it's getting there. It's the stories of what happens from the training we did and from the equipment you've sent that I think really wraps this back around. I'm picturing Romana's Artemis, view of the us as one, but it's that story. It's a great story. I thank you not only for shipping all of those giant containers, but for every single human story that's on the receiving end of that equipment. That's why we're here. And I thank you so much for sharing that story.
I am thankful for this opportunity to share what Medical Bridges is. Even you have some incredible guests on this every week, and I admire your search for honest conversations. But I don't deserve thanks. I am the lucky person, right? I get to do this because of an incredible staff, friends and supporters, uh, 2 great parents that were both served in our country in the Second World War. I'm the luckiest human that's on Earth. Maybe not as lucky as the astronauts at Artemis are, but they're not on Earth yet. So I
Walter,
think, I think I'm number 1 when it comes to good fortune, and I'm grateful for this opportunity.
Walter, I disagree with you. You are well-deserved honor for you. You are doing a great humanitarian work, and as a foreign person, I myself, I can see the work is needed. I think global is where we're the only one. We have to take care of humanity in all aspects of health. There should not be bombs and all these customs. Also, it doesn't make any sense. I think you are doing the advocacy wonderful job you are doing, and that is all the strength for you. Your thank you is a truly an honor and privilege to have you here. We are truly enjoyed talking with you. You keep on doing the work. We tremendously, me and Susan can help you any way we can help. The training
Yes.
is must be part of that too. That Susan can do that really global training. Now because of the
No.
Oh, you just knocked out your speaker, Romana. But Walter, I'd like to close with Romana, you lost your speaker. I'd love to close with, please keep us in mind when you need help. I mean, we have a great audience. We will love to share a call to arms. If you have a call to action, if you need something specific, please let us know. Let me personally know. We both have great networks, and we'd be happy to give a shout out here. If there's a call to action specifically, please call on us. Thank you for joining us.